go ahead and try to make time to grow some food. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, this is left imperfect on purpose. What I found is not this year, but the previous year with growing with this landscape fabric is that every time a good strong wind came through, it pulled up the fabric. And this stuff is really big and it's really heavy. And generally when there's wind, there's rain. That means there's mud. So it's big, heavy, and muddy. And so you've got to get in there and you're out there trying to get it back down while the wind's blowing, because if you don't, as it continues to blow, it rips up more and more of it. The wind kind of catches underneath it like a parachute. And it doesn't matter what you weigh, it wants to blow you away. It can be pretty awful when you're trying to tackle that. But as you can see, it's still by far my preference, because believe it or not, you still end up with a lot less weeds. And what I found was that year I'd cleaned out all of my gardens, not this past year, but the year before, except for this okra patch. And the okra patch, the wind never blew that up. So I caught on to that real quick and decided this year, instead of cleaning up my garden in the fall, just to let the stuff sit. And I also purchased some more of these fence stakes, as you can kind of see them laying on top of the fabric, but that really is not enough in and of itself to keep the fabric down. And I went ahead and, just let this lay, and it has helped tremendously to keep it from blowing up. I can't say that it was 100%, but compared to the previous year, it was 98% effective, and that I'm very, very grateful for. So I actually intend to do it this way from now on. But the other reason outside of that, I've already mentioned. Please don't think things have to be perfect. We've grown into this mindset that everything has to be perfect before we can do anything else. And it doesn't. In the times that we're facing and we're heading into, your belly, your growling, hungry belly, the hungry bellies of your kids and grandkids aren't going to much care how clean your house is or how short you keep your grass. In fact, they're going to notice that you can't eat the grass. And so I just want to encourage you to take some time, be a little messy, and as long as you're getting some food out of it, that's what matters. So after showing you this, I'm just going to show you just the small steps I take to go ahead and get prepared for the coming growing season, because it's spring and there are things that we can plant now. If you are going to plant peas or sugar snap peas in your garden this year, I'm in southern Ohio, and peas can go out now. It is mid-March. Last night I took about half of this jar and put it in a container, filled it with water, and it swelled up to this, and I'm getting ready to go outside and plant. When I go out to garden, these are some of the things I like to take with me. I grab one drill, and I take the little battery out of an extra drill, so I have a backup battery, and I use that with this little auger that I hook to the end of my drill. I also like to use one of these, and you'll see that in use. I take a little garden shovel, set of disposable gloves. I'll be putting part of the seed into another container since it expanded out the top, and of course my coffee, and I just go ahead and just set those all in this garden caddy. So this is what I've cleared out so far. I still have a bit more to do, but I'd like to get some of this pea seed into the ground before dark. I have about an hour. I have not swept this with a broom, and instead I've opted for my dust buster. That is actually what I bought that for. My concern is if I go to sweep that, I'm going to end up sweeping just as much into the holes of weed seed that I want to plant in. And if you notice, I clear out for 2 rows on each side of me. I can kind of just sit on the ground and do this and scooch down and reach both sides pretty well. To plant, I use one of 2 tools. I either take this and I dig a real big spot, or if I've got a wider space, I'll use this. And I found in doing this, I originally put these holes in for green beans, and I double up, and in the springtime I go ahead and use them for peas. And what I found is I wanted to put the smallest holes possible, thinking of the size of the stem of the green bean. And what ended up happening is the leaf that's produced is much bigger than the stem. And so my green beans were under the garden fabric. So I had to enlarge all of these holes. So the key is you keep them as small as possible for weed control, but you have to have them big enough to get the leaves out. So after you do that, you're going to make your holes. And then I have in this bucket here a little bit of brown gold, courtesy of my rabbits. Stick a little bit of that in there. I generally will drop in a few seeds, whether it's in case something doesn't germinate. You don't have to, or if rodents or something gets in here, bugs, whatever, gets in here and eats up my seed, hopefully they won't eat all of them. So that's how you're going to want to do that. I'm not finished, but it's getting dark, and some peas will be better than no peas. So this here is my raised bed. I only have one. I built it myself. It's 4 foot by 24 foot. I planted some daikon radishes in there, and soon I'll be putting some potatoes in there. And as I am pulling up the radishes, it'll make room for the potatoes to grow, and that should work out rather nicely. And you know, the other thing I kind of wanted to mention with this in the middle of my gardening mess is, you know, I'm a lady in my 50s doing this, and let it be an encouragement to you that if I can do it, you can do it. So upward and onward with our gardening.